Okay, Shannon, you could put us on the record, please. Excuse me, this is a matter of Frid versus Frid. Ms. McCluskey for the plaintiff, Mr. Navarre for the defendant. I see Mr. Frid is present. Is your client with you, Ms. McCluskey?
I'm sorry, what was that, Your Honor?
Where is Nicole? Is she with you?
No, she should be dialed in. You did just state her name. It sounded like she was in the waiting room.
Oh, okay. So her last name is Goodwin?
Goodwin, no, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
We will have one witness also, but I'm texting that witness when she's dialing in the waiting room. So.
Okay, looks like everyone's here. Mr. Navarre, this is your motion, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. Is there anything preliminary?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Frid, your first witness?
No, I've called Nicole Goodwin, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Goodwin, would you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You can put your hand down, state your full name for the record, please.
Nicole Elise Goodwin.
Go ahead. Excuse me. Go ahead, Mr. Navarre.
Thank you. Nicole, how old are you?
I'm 34.
And you have one minor daughter with Mr. Frid, correct?
Correct.
And her name is Eleanor.
Yes,
And do you call her Ellie?
I do.
And do you have any other children besides Ellie?
I do not.
And where do you and Ellie reside?
I live with a friend, Ruth Fritz. She's also my employer.
And describe the housing arrangement for the court, please.
It has a walkout basement with 2 bedrooms, bathroom, kitchen, and we live down there. And I mean, we of course hang out in the upstairs as well, or whichever, but that is an apartment-like setting that I live in.
And then would it be fair to say that you have like a lower flat and the owner has the upper flat?
Yes.
Okay. And on the second unit where your employer friend resides, is that 2 stories?
No, just the 1 story in the basement.
Okay. So it is a ranch style house?
Yes.
Okay. And where are you employed?
Advanced Communication Cabling Incorporated.
And who owns that business?
Ruth Fritz.
And is that business conducted out of her residence on the main floor of the house?
It is.
And what's that address?
10161 King Road, Spring Arbor, Michigan, 49283.
And is that in a neighborhood, a country setting? Describe the location.
Country setting. She has 12 acres of property. Lives in the home is on a private dirt lane.
All right. And how long have you resided there?
Since May 2018. I lived with her briefly before Mr. Fred and I moving in together. But I've come back since May of 18.
Okay. And you rent from her?
She does not require that I pay rent.
Okay. And do you have any kind of rental agreement or lease, even though you're not paying her any rent money?
No, she has. Her youngest son has been my best friend for 20 plus years. They're basically family.
Okay.
She's always
And-
been second family to me and considers me family.
And so what are your plans as far as housing? You planning on maintaining that housing, continuing there, or moving?
I plan on eventually moving out. Yes.
Okay. Have you established any kind of timeline for that or not?
Not at the moment.
And how many hours a week are you working for your friend?
Currently, right now, I'm not quite at 30 hours. Last year, I averaged around 30 hours, but currently I'm not with Ellie. Ellie has 2 therapies a week through speech. So
And you said those therapies are for speech?
yes.
And so what days are the therapy sessions?
She has Monday with comprehensive speech therapy at 9:30, and she has Fridays at 11:30, and sometimes those appointments move. That going forward, last week was her last week. I was informed on Friday that because it's through Jackson County ISD, that they break for the summer.
And where did the Monday at 9:30s, where did those take place?
In Jackson at comprehensive speech.
Yeah, where's that located?
It's on, I believe, Lawrence Ave, I think is what it's called.
And what about the one through ISD that just ended last week on Fridays?
That used to be Zoom. For the last 3 weeks, we had met at a park.
And who's providing services for Ellie through ISD on the Friday mornings?
I believe it's Jackson County ISD. Her name's Erin Krieger.
First name again?
Erin,
Krieger?
yes.
And who provides services on Lawrence Ave at CST?
Her first name is Lainey. To be honest, I'm not 100% about her last name.
Okay. And how long's Ellie been receiving speech therapy at comprehensive speech therapies and through the ISD?
She's been with comprehensive since August of last year, and she started Jackson County ISD, I believe it was around December of last year. I'm pretty sure late November, December timeframe.
And so would it be fair to say that those appointments have been pretty consistent since they've started, been pretty much the same days of the week and times of the week?
For the most part, yeah.
And so you're able to work your work schedule around those Mondays and Fridays, is that correct?
Correct.
And do you have flexible work hours through Ruth?
I do.
And so you're able to adjust your work schedule to meet your daughter's needs. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
What's your current physical health?
It's good.
Do you have any chronic medical conditions?
I have high blood pressure.
Well, other than the hypertension, that does not interfere with your ability to effectively be a parent to your daughter, does it?
No.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that you don't have any health issues that would limit your ability to parent your daughter?
I do not. I have had depression issues in the past or anxiety, but all are things that are handled through I have always managed those. So nothing that would impair my ability. No.
Okay. Are you currently taking any medication for depression or any mental health issues?
Nope. Haven't needed to.
Okay. Have you ever taken any medication?
I have. I was on Zoloft at one point.
Have you ever had any hospitalizations because of your past mental health issues?
I have not.
had an objection. If I could object, I think the line of questioning is a little overreaching into her medical background. She did testify. She doesn't have any current medical issues that would inhibit her parenting.
Yeah, if we could limit, excuse me, limit to the period of time since the last custody order, I think that would be appropriate.
That would be the judgment of divorce, Your Honor. You haven't had any issues since you've been divorced from Mr. Frid as it relates to mental health. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did there come a time where parenting time was stopped because of COVID last year?
There was, yes.
And was that about a 2.5 or 3 month period of time?
It was about a 3-month time period agreed on him and myself.
And what months would that have been?
I believe it was started the mid-March for COVID. He did not get her for the beginning of March because he was sick, but mid-March to beginning of June.
And did Mr. Frid ask for any makeup time?
He did.
And was he granted makeup time?
We started doing makeup time, not overnights, but we started with makeup time for the 3-hour periods that he has on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Ellie was struggling quite substantially in his care. And I felt that we should get the handle on that before we added additional overnights for makeup time, since she was struggling with what she had currently already had.
And did he communicate with you regarding what types of behavior Ellie was exhibiting when he was attempting to exercise his parenting time?
He did. He told me about all the things that she was struggling with and had been struggling with those issues since fall of 19.
And what did you do to try to accommodate Mr. Frid in that regard with respect to his parenting time and Ellie exhibiting some issues?
Well, I talked to neonatology clinic. I went to Lifeways twice, trying to get services. They denied me twice. They felt it was environmental. It wasn't until later in 2020 that the neonatology clinic suggests I go for basically to ask them to reevaluate again. And it was at that point that Scott agreed to talk on the phone I took the phone to Lifeways with me so that he can communicate with them, because I was telling them everything that he was seeing, but they did not want to do services at that point. And I've got two. Sorry.
No, was she reevaluated?
She was reevaluated.
Sorry, you broke up there, Nicole.
Sorry. When I did go in at the end of 2020, they did do a reevaluation based off what he was saying when I had him on speaker on my phone.
And what was the result of that reevaluation in December of last year?
We ended up getting therapy with Amy Schwartz with Highfields.
And what kind of therapy is Amy Schwartz providing through Highfields for Ellie?
She's providing a family-based therapy. Currently, because of COVID, it was through Zoom. It was basically we sat down, Scott and myself and Amy, over a phone conference. We laid out goals that we wanted to achieve for Ellie, and what we were hoping how we were hoping she would do better. And basically, Amy was working off of those goals to help with the relationship between Scott and Ellie to make that stronger.
And so what kind of goals did you establish with Amy Schwartz at Highfields?
I'd have to look back for all of them, but I believe the majority of them was basically that she go.
No, we just lost her.
It was indicating low bandwidth, Your Honor.
Sorry.
So,
Can you hear me
Ms.
now?
Goodwin, we can, but can you give me your telephone number? I can connect you by
Certainly.
audio, and we'll avoid this breaking up issue.
Okay, great. It's 517-240-6864.
So you'll need to mute and turn the sound down on your computer, or we're going to get some back feedback.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you.
I was doing Zoom on my phone because our internet is not that fantastic here.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just go this route.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Navarre.
We were talking about the goals that that you had tried to work on with Amy and with Scott regarding Ellie and her behavior when she's with her dad and he's exercising parenting time. What were the goals again that you tried to work on?
Yeah. So they were one, that Ellie would transition when leaving the home better, because she was, at one point it took two of us to get her into a car seat because she just did not want to go. She would throw a fit. So that was one of them. The other one was that Scott had always said that she did not socialize well or play with the other children in his home. So that was one of them, that she would basically engage with everyone there. Ellie would shut down to the point of at times not eating, wouldn't communicate, would cry uncontrollably. So one of the goals was to, obviously with the mindset that she is a 3-year-old and is going to have moments of tantrums, that it would be more accurate to a typical 3-year-old's behavior versus her just basically being overloaded and breaking down. And that she would handle overnights more consistently and do better there with that.
So what were you doing as far as, I'm sorry, what were you doing as far as the overnights? How was that? How were you working with Scott about that?
Well, at this point, there's nothing that, the therapy was he was supposed to do the therapy, and I believe this is how it was presented, at least to me, is that the therapy would build that relationship with her so that Ellie would do better in his home. In regards to helping her with overnights, there's not a whole lot that I can personally do on my side, aside from reassure her that this is, a wonderful thing, which I have always done. So I think it was more or less the therapy with help with the therapy was going to help Ellie's behavior so that it would build into her being able to stay longer and feel more comfortable staying longer.
And is it fair to say that she is doing better on Scott's alternate weekends?
She is going better. That is definite. She is very excited to see his parents when they come to pick her up. She's been excited to see his current wife. She's throwing less tantrums. She still says she doesn't want to go because, I always try to prep her, like, oh my gosh, guess what? You get to go see dad. You're going to have so much fun. You're going to see all your siblings, and I'll name them off and how much fun that's going to be. And she's generally, no, I don't want to go. But she's not throwing, she's not crying uncontrollably like she was the last, before. So that is a plus. She is doing better there. And she has spent, I think, 3 full weekends with him recently. So that is good. I know one weekend he had called and she was struggling on a Saturday. I know she didn't make it through Memorial holiday. So I think there's still some issues, but I think we are at least looking like we might be getting better. Maybe over time, we're at least going in the right direction, I think.
So would it be fair to say that on these weekends that Scott's exercising parenting time with Ellie, that maybe her behavior digresses sometime on Saturday after spending the first overnight and having difficulty spending that second overnight, the Saturday overnight at her dad's?
If you say recently, but she's gone before earlier in the day, and I've needed to pick her up that night. Before he had a overnight. Generally it's one overnight and we did that for a very long time where we just planned on one overnight because she was struggling, but.
And so Scott's asked for a Wednesday overnight to change the 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays to a Wednesday overnight. And you're opposed to that, is that correct?
I am.
Okay. And do you think that it might help her transition and continuing with the overnights with her father if the overnights expanded to Wednesday?
In my personal opinion, I do not. I think that we need her to be more successful with her weekends and branch from there is my thought. I feel that the therapy, having had, doing that consecutively would be helpful. I just feel like I would feel more comfortable with her being on a stronger standing before we start doing that.
But it would be fair to say that in the past, she's had some issues with the second overnight but has done generally better with the first overnight on his alternate weekends. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think it wouldn't be beneficial to her to have Wednesday overnights at her dad's? And wouldn't that make it potentially easier for her to exercise the overnights from a behavioral standpoint with just that one overnight midweek?
Well, I do think that sometimes Ellie, when he's even said this, like for instance, just this recently, he had 3 weekends in a row, and because he had one on for his scheduled biweekly, and then Memorial weekend was his holiday. So he had another weekend there, and then the following weekend. And she stayed the 2 nights the weekend before the Memorial. And then she struggled that Tuesday evening, and then he did not get her Thursday for fear that it was too much time being so close to the holiday weekend, and then did not do the Friday overnight because he agreed that he thought 3 nights was too much. And she struggled that Saturday. And I needed to pick her up before she had spent one overnight. And then that following weekend, she struggled on Saturday. So when I think about that, it makes me wonder that if we start doing a Wednesday every weekend or every week, if we do a Wednesday overnight every week with the bi-weekly weekend, are we going to be in the same situation where, I mean, as he's even said, with all these multiple, like closer, longer periods, is it going to do a backtrack? Is it going to make her go back? I just don't want her to go back. And that's why I would like her to have a stronger foundation before we do more, if that makes any sense.
Have you discussed this with Amy Schwartz?
I have discussed this with Amy Schwartz.
You willing to continue to work with her through Highfields regarding the therapy that she's receiving?
I wanted to continue to work with her. Scott canceled, and although she could work with me, she felt there was no issue with Ellie in my home. So, as there wasn't anything as she said, for us to work on. So it would have been not beneficial for anybody.
More directed towards Scott and his home with Ellie, correct?
Correct. You're currently able to provide, food, clothing, and medical care and other items that are necessary for your daughter, correct? Correct.
All right. Is ISD going to continue to provide services starting sometime in August or September of this year?
Yes. Yeah.
And you plan on continuing to work with them, is that correct?
Yes. She loves her therapist, Erin.
Can you describe the emotional bonds that you have with Ellie?
Ellie and I have a very strong bond. I love her to pieces, of course. She's my daughter, and she does very much love me, and I know she does. I would say that we're very well bonded, and I would say that that's been shown in many ways. I don't really know how to say more than that.
She's pretty much you've been pretty much a stay-at-home parent, correct?
Essentially, I mean, I am working within the home, although she may be on a different floor than me. She does see me 5 or 10 minute break. I like to go down and say hi. Gives me a break from work, and I get to see my child.
And so would your typical work days be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? What are your typical work hours and days?
Depends on her schedule with medical. It revolves around that. It revolves around what Ellie's got going on, basically.
Well, you previously testified that she typically has appointments on Mondays and Fridays, correct?
Correct, but she has other medical concerns. I mean, this year they've been, she goes to Mott's for other medical things. So there are other appointments that happen at times. They are less frequent this year, but just speaking in general, I mean, she had 2 Mott's appointments the week of May 18th. she had an appointment on the 18th and the 19th that made it so that I was not at work at all those days.
And what are those
'Cause they were
appointments
very
for?
long.
What kind of services is she receiving at Mott's?
At Mott's, on the 18th, she had a VCUG procedure where they put her under general anesthesia. That was to check for urinary reflux. That's something she had struggled with since birth. The 19th was with the neonatology clinic at U of M that's for development for children that are born as prematurely as Ellie. They generally like to follow them. So that was another long appointment earlier in the day. She sees cardio that is now down to a one time a year appointment. She sees Kellogg's for eyes because she has a congenital nystagmus. Let's see. There's urology, there's audiology. She's seen every 6 months for hearing. Now she's down to once a year for hearing because she had early on tested for some mild hearing loss. She sees, oh goodness sakes, neonatology, urology, cardio. I'm just running through the list. Oh, her allergies. She sees them generally about twice a year to check allergies or do allergy testing.
And
then not to mention any assessments that come up. She just recently phased out of early on education. She was getting that from 4 months old to 3 years old, and they would come monthly. And like I said, any additional assessments that she may have.
Okay, and so what are her allergies?
She's allergic to egg, milk, peanut, and tree nuts, and then seasonal stuff. But
and so you plan on making sure that she gets to the necessary medical appointments, and you discuss these issues with Scott, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So you're planning on continuing with whatever ongoing medical concerns need to be treated, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you communicate these to Scott?
In 2018, I created a calendar, a Google Calendar that would, I put all of her appointments in, and then it will generally send him an email, and it will send him an update that an appointment's coming, and then it has the appointment time, where, and the address. After an appointment, I will call him and let him know. I mean, I don't think I've generally put her dental appointment on there. She has seen a dentist since she was a year old. I don't think I've put those on there. I'm sure over time with all of the appointments, there might have been one I've missed to put on there, but I would say a good 98% of them are at least on there.
And so did the two of you talk about these appointments and how she's doing and how the appointment went?
Yes.
Okay. And would you say that that's frequent?
Yeah, whenever an appointment comes up, or if there's a concern that he may see or a concern I may see in the middle of an appointment, other than that, they're pretty routine.
Okay. So what's your daily routine as far as getting up in the morning with your daughter? What time does she get up?
Ellie gets up anywhere between 8:30 to 9:30-ish, every once in a blue moon, 10. She gets up if the nanny's here. I'm generally all ready to work if she hasn't woke up, and nanny will get her up and dressed and fed, and they'll start their day, and then I pop down through the day. If Ellie is with me for the day, we kind of do as Ellie wants, or she will come up to the office with me, which she really enjoys. But she'll come to the office with me, and we'll work for a while, break, play, and do whatever she may a little more. It just kind of floats in with everyone jokingly in our office says that Ellie runs the show.
And so who's the nanny?
Victoria Alcock, call her Tori.
And was there a period of time other than was there a period of time other than the 3 months that you had described from the middle of March to beginning of June of 2020 that the nanny was not providing services for Ellie?
She was not here from the beginning of January until she came back, I believe it was first week of May. She had a triple bypass.
And so that'd be the first 4 months then, January, February, March, and April, correct?
Correct.
And then there were 3 months last year, correct?
1 month. She stayed on until I think it was the first week of April. It was at that point that we really were getting kind of a real handle on COVID, and it was really becoming like a big deal. And so I let her go. And then in May, I thought he was going to start up visitations in May. And so I hired Nanny. I brought Nanny back, and then he ended up decided that maybe we should wait. And I had already brought the nanny back, so I kept her.
And how many hours does she work a week?
She do 30.
And how much is she paid an hour?
She was being paid $12 an hour last year. This year, just starting in May, it's changed. She recently filed for disability and was granted that, and therefore can only make so much. So she's charging me a flat rate of $275 a week.
And when did you first hire Tori?
I believe it was August of 2018.
And so do you know how much you paid her in 2018?
$12 an hour.
So $360 a week?
Yes.
Did you provide her with a 1099 in 2018?
I didn't provide her with one, but I know she claimed it and I claimed it. Her husband's a tax accountant, so he claimed it.
Did you ever provide her with a 1099?
No.
Scott ever asked you to provide some substantiation as far as your expenditure for the nanny?
He has sent text messages generally when he's upset with me that he would like to know, or he'll say, I don't know when she's there or how much you're paying her or whichever. And I would tell him, it fluctuates per day or when she's coming in, because that is the truth, because it revolves around Ellie's doctor's appointments, much like my work schedule. But I think it's never been something that he's pressed real hard on.
Did you tell him ever that it's none of his business, that it's on your time? And
No, I did not.
You ever tell him he doesn't need to know about it?
No, I'm sorry.
You ever tell him that he doesn't need to know about it?
Just recently he got upset about me not telling him that the nanny was gone for the beginning of this year, and that I had not told him that the nanny was gone. And I believe my wording was that I didn't feel that I had to tell him because she was with me and he had not paid for nanny services since September of last year. So he was not paying for the service. She was with me during my parenting time. I didn't understand the need to tell him.
And so are you planning on keeping the nanny services for the 30 hours a week?
I'm hoping that she will work more. Eventually, I would like to have her at 40 hours since she's just coming back off a triple bypass. She's working less than that, but the plan is that she would work more. I mean, obviously, when Ellie starts school, it will be less because Ellie will be in school for 3 days a week, but.
Well, she just turned 3 in March, correct?
April.
Excuse me. She just
She
turned
was
3
due in March.
April.
Okay.
Correct.
Anyway,
Right.
I don't have any further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Ms. McCluskey, do you wish to question your client now or reserve that for your case?
I'll reserve it for our case. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Next witness, Mr. Navarre.
Mr. Frid, Your Honor.
Mr. Frid, would you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You can put your hand down. State your full name, please.
Scott Andrew Frid.
Go ahead, Mr. Navarre.
Thank you, Your Honor. Scott, where do you live?
I live at 3039 South Meridian Road, Jackson, Michigan.
And you've lived there continuously since the judgment of divorce, correct?
Correct.
And who else resides in the home with you?
My wife and 4 kids.
Okay, and your wife's first name is?
Jerry Lynn.
Jerry Lynn. And would you list off the names and ages of the children that are in the household?
Natalie is my stepdaughter. She is 3. Kinley, she's going to be 2. And then Cash and Trenton are my twins. They're going to be 1 here at the end of the month.
And the twins were born in August of last year, correct?
June
Let's strike that.
27th.
They were born the end of June of last year, correct?
Yep. Kinley was born in August.
And she was born in August of 19, correct?
Correct.
All right. And how many bedrooms do you have?
3 bedroom.
And where does your daughter sleep when she spends overnights with you? Your daughter, Ellie.
She sleeps on the main floor with the girls share a room. They have bunk beds.
How's she get along with Kinley and Natalie?
Recently, they seem to be getting along pretty well. She gets along a lot better. We've worked through that issue for the most part.
Okay, so describe to the court how it is, what it is that leads you, what you observe, what you see that says that the girls are getting along better.
Before, in the months past, when Ellie would come over, she would, like, if Kinley was sitting in their room playing with toys by the door, Ellie would walk in there and shove her out of the way and say, "No, Kinley, get out of here. I'm playing in here." Like, she was just like go out of her way to make sure that the other kids weren't around. Well, it was mainly Kinley. She's always got along with Natalie because she's about the same age. So the issue was with Kinley, and now she seems to be playing pretty well. They're getting along for the most part. Of course, they act like siblings from time to time, but she doesn't go out of her way to be mean anymore. Seems like that's gotten better.
Well, when you've observed that type of behavior from Ellie, what do you do to try to redirect that, or how do you deal with that with Ellie?
At the time, I would try to give them the same toys and like try to tell her, "No, you can't do that. Here, let's play with this." And she was fine as long as Kinley wasn't in the same room with her. But now, like I said, that we've gotten through that issue.
How long did it take you to get through that issue?
A few months, probably two months, probably.
Would you describe to the court your daughter's behavior when you're exercising your weekend parenting time?
She's very repetitive about she loves to be here. She loves to hug on me, play with me, play with other kids, play with everybody. And then it's like in the middle of playing, she just starts freaking out and say, "I want my mommy. I want to play with my mommy," which is why I was pushing for daycare or school or something to get her out of the house, because she's with Nicole 24/7. And it shows because she is so attached to her that when she comes to my house, it's like, "Oh no, where's my mom at?" And so even I try calling Nicole sometimes, but that doesn't even work. She'll still say, "I want my mommy. I want to go to mommy's house and play." And I will try to say, "Okay, honey, your mommy's going to come get you in a little bit, but she wants you to play for a little bit." And she'll say, "No, I want my mommy." And there's nothing I can do. I mean, I can redirect her for a little bit. And this is usually like after the first overnight is fine until about, it's like she knows she's going to spend another night, because in the afternoon is when she starts to get repetitive and wanting mommy. And so I try to push it as long as I can, playing, giving her snacks, go outside. And that all helps for a little bit, but it just gets to a point when she starts screaming and crying, she just needs to see her mom. And I think that all goes back to she's never away from her mom. So to her, she just needs more frequent times away from her mom. That's why I was pushing for the Wednesday night, because I feel like it's in between the overnights. It'd be one overnight, and she does great one overnight. So I think that she needs more frequent nights away from her mom, and that would help her.
So what have you been doing from working with the therapist as far as that's concerned, as far as trying to improve her behavior in your home when you're with her?
I did a couple visits with Amy, and then I didn't feel that it was working. We were going to do because Ellie is not going to sit here and stare at a phone for an hour. She goes off and plays and does her own thing. So I didn't think that it was beneficial at all, because even Amy was like, "Yeah, she's going off playing. She didn't even care about Amy. She wasn't interacting." So we were going to do in person when they allowed it, but then Nicole got upset with me and switched from the Wednesday from noon to 6 back to the court ordered 5 to 8 Tuesday and Thursday. And Amy said that, that's not going to work. By the time you get home, it's dinner time, bedtime. And she felt that was not going to work with her.
So when did you start doing noon to 6 on Wednesdays on an agreement, voluntary basis between you and Nicole?
It was shortly after COVID, I believe, when we resumed visitations.
And so that would have been sometime late spring, early summer?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe
And how often then were you doing the noon to 6 on Wednesdays with Ellie as far as parenting time?
every week. Every
And then-
week, unless somebody had flu or something like that, then I would talk to Nicole and think that it was in Ellie's best interest that she, stay home if she wasn't sick.
So if somebody in your household was sick, you were following the COVID protocol and
Correct.
protecting your daughter by following the protocol, correct?
Correct. Yep.
All right. Did you ever ask for any makeup time for that?
Yes. And every time I would, she would say that it'd get into her parenting time and that it didn't work in her schedule. And I was never, besides the extra hours in the Wednesday, I was never made up that time for the 3 months that was missed, the overnights.
Well, the noon to 6 obviously is the 6-hour block on Wednesdays. You had 5 to 8, which would 2 3-hour blocks on Tuesdays and Thursdays, correct?
Correct.
And is it your testimony that the 5 to 8 really didn't provide you with a sufficient amount of time to spend with your daughter?
Correct. When she gets home in the 5 to 8, by the time she gets home and eats, she's wanting to wind down for the night and wanting to know if her mom's here yet. When I never had that issue when it was during the day.
So how long has it been that you've been unemployed?
Since COVID began, since March of last year.
Okay. And you've been providing basically childcare for your stepdaughter and your 4 kids, correct?
Correct.
And so you're available during the normal workday, 8 to 5?
Correct. Yes.
And you have availability to provide care for your daughter during the day if Nicole's at work, working 30 hours a week?
I do. Yes.
And do you have flexibility as far as the days and times that you can be available?
Yep. Yes, I do.
Are you willing to continue to, are you willing to, provide that for your daughter as opposed to having to hire a nanny or some other third party?
I would love that. I actually offered that when COVID first began told Nicole that I was home and could watch her. And she said, absolutely not.
Do you feel that it would help the bond that you have with your daughter if you were able to provide that and have that time with her?
I absolutely do believe that. I believe that it would give her more sense of, whenever she came over, she'd know at the end of the day, like, oh, I get to see my mom. So I absolutely believe that would help her.
You think she's got some kind of separation anxiety when she's not with her mom?
I do believe so, because she doesn't go anywhere without her mom. So she's like looking for her mom. So I've always thought she's had separation anxiety.
And in the past, you felt that she needs more socialization and to develop socialization skills.
Yeah. She's getting a little bit better with that, as far as like with my kids and stuff. But I thought that when she was having the issue with getting along with my daughter, with Kinley.
But you've testified that you've seen some improvement in that area?
Yes, significant.
So how does she show her love and affection towards you, Scott?
She loves to snuggle. As soon as she runs in the door, she says "Daddy," and she's running to me with her arms wide open. She loves to see me. She loves to play with me. She love she's always saying "Daddy," and she is always showing love towards me.
So, and how do you respond to that? How do you return that love to her that she's showing to you?
Well, like when she runs in the door, I automatically just get down on my knees so I can get to her level and kind of like pick her up and tell her it's good to see her and try to play with her as much as I can when she asks for it, or put her in my lap and watch TV or whatever it is. Try to do it with her, incorporate her.
So, what other emotional bonds do you have with her and she with you?
Spending like she loves it when I pick her up and like run around with her and like
What kind of games do you guys play? What do you do to interact together, when you're one-on-one?
Well, I'll read her a book or get on the floor, play cars with her. She loves playing with cars, or she loves it when I chase her around the living room. She thinks it's a funny game and giggles, and then I'll pick her up and give her hugs, and she thinks that's a good time.
Smile and laugh.
Yeah, smiling and giggling.
And how's her speech developing? How's she doing with her speech?
She's doing pretty good. That's definitely coming along. Speech therapy, I believe, is definitely helping with that.
And what are you doing to help her with her speech development?
Whenever she's here, she likes to watch Daniel Tiger, but she can't say Daniel Tiger, so she'll say "Grr," and I know what she wants, but I'll always repeat like, "Oh, do you want Daniel Tiger?" And she'll try to say it, whatever she wants, try to get her to repeat it the best that she can, and that seems to be helping her a little bit too.
Does she seem to have some sense of self-confidence or some pride that she's doing better with some of her words and pronunciation?
Yeah, she gets excited on some words.
And then how do you praise her when that happens?
Usually I'll say, "Hey, good job," and like we'll clap, and so then she'll smile and know like it's something exciting.
She's smiling and clapping back with you at the same time?
Yep.
Is that something that you do to try and reinforce her and reward her?
Yes.
Is there any other method of reward that you utilize for her as far as snacks or treats or activities?
Not really. I mean, high fives and clapping and maybe hugs and that kind of stuff.
Does she tell you that she loves you?
Yes, she does. She says "ooh ooh" too because she can't pronounce "love you," but it's "ooh ooh," so she does acknowledge it.
What does she especially enjoy doing other than maybe playing with you outside or on the floor inside? What does she like to do? What are her?
She likes to either be outside or on the tablet or coloring. She likes to color.
You color with her?
Yeah, I'll sit at the table and color with her.
So what's the routine as far as meal preparation, dinner, when she's over at your house?
Dinner time's around 5:30. So when she gets here, it's dinner time, and put her at the table or tell her to get up there, and we usually eat, and then we'll go play.
Who's making the meals at the house?
Jerry Lynn, my wife, is.
Okay. And so what kind of food do you provide for your daughter when she's with you?
Chicken nuggets, hot dogs, spaghetti, chicken, chicken and rice, ham.
You're aware of her food allergies, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And
Yep.
so you make,
Everything we make when she's here is fed to all the kids is the same. So like cheese that she can have, we don't even have any cheese out that she can't have.
what type of discipline do you use when she needs to be disciplined or redirected?
Timeout, set her on the couch and then tell her as soon as she can stop crying and say she's sorry, she can get down. And that usually, and just tell her like, whatever she did, like, you can't do that. And if you can stop crying, you can get down and we'll go play. And it's usually okay.
So what are her favorite foods?
Chicken nuggets.
Okay.
Veggie straws and chicken nuggets are her two, and fruit snacks would be her go-to.
Does she take any medication?
She just stopped the one med for her reflux, and besides her allergy meds, I believe Nicole switched her to Zyrtec.
Okay. Does that go back and forth between Nicole's house and your house?
Sometimes she'll send it with me, but no, it's usually, I believe that's just over the counter stuff. So,
okay. So do you have that in your home and
yes, yes,
provide it to her if she needs it?
Yep. Yes, I do.
So how would you describe her allergic reactions as far as the allergies are concerned? What do you observe?
The only really reaction that I have seen when she's at my house is she's got eczema. So like if we're playing on the floor or rubbing, she rubs a blanket on her face, or the heat, if we're outside, the heat really bothers eczema. That's the only real reaction that I've noticed.
What are the positive attributes that you could describe regarding Nicole and how she parents Ellie?
That she takes her she makes sure that she gets to all of her appointments necessary, and that she makes sure she has what she needs.
And how would you describe the communication between Nicole and you regarding Ellie's medical appointments?
The medical appointments, she usually calls me afterwards on her way home from the appointment. She'll fill me in on what was discussed.
Okay. Are you able to have a civil conversation with her so that you have an understanding about what's going on with your daughter from a medical standpoint?
Yeah, we usually have a good conversation about the medical meetings or whatever's going on.
Well, you heard her testify about the Google Calendar. Is that something that she's been doing and posting on the Google Calendar?
She has been doing that, but it'll notify me sometimes 10 minutes before the appointment, or she'll add something or take something off, and that doesn't work. So unless she texts me or tells me over the phone, I don't know about appointments. A lot of times she'll be like, "Are you going to her appointment tomorrow?" And I'll say, "What appointment? What are you talking about?"
What would you like to see from an improved communication standpoint regarding that?
I would like a printout of, just send it with Ellie, print out her appointments or text me. This Google thing hasn't worked since day one.
Do you have all the contact information for all of the healthcare professionals that are providing services for your daughter?
We don't. No, I don't have all the contact. I don't even know. She'll tell me what doctor, unless she tells me what doctor, I don't even know what doctors.
That's something you'd like to be advised of?
Yes.
Okay. And do you feel it would be more appropriate coming from Nicole as opposed to coming from one of the support staff at the doctor's office or therapist's office?
I mean, as long as Nicole can tell me or give me a list of, she's right. She does put on the calendar when she does put it on there, but if she changes it, I don't know about it. Or so I think if I had a list to look at.
If you had the list, then you'd be willing to contact them directly and handle it yourself.
Correct. Yeah, I could call and ask, inquire about it, but I don't even know who to contact. I know she goes to U of M, and I know she has I know her pediatrician, and that's it.
Okay. And that's something that you'd ask the court to order her to provide to you so that you could be more involved in the
Yes.
conversations there.
Yes, I would love that.
Do you have any limitations from a health standpoint that would impact your ability to parent Ellie when she's with you?
No, I do not.
And you're seeking to expand your parenting time to add a Wednesday overnight?
Correct.
Are you looking at substituting that Wednesday overnight for the Tuesday, Thursday?
Yeah. Yes, I believe that Wednesday night every week would help her a little more than Tuesday and Thursday. It would help her with the overnights in between.
So does she generally sleep through the night when she's spending overnights with you?
Yes. Once she goes to bed, I usually don't hear a peep out of her.
What's the bedtime routine for her and the other girls?
When she's here, she's usually, the other kids go to bed at about 7. So she's usually begging to go lay down, and we don't make her go to bed at 7. We'll lay her down and she can watch TV or play on the tablet until she's tired. And but usually she's sleeping by 9, I would say, but she's in bed around 7.
Okay. And so she's in bed in the bedroom that she shares with the other girls?
Yes.
Okay. And then you go in and check on her occasionally?
We have video monitors that we can watch. And then if I see she needs a passy or something like that, or if she's having a hard time, then I can just go in there.
So what's the routine as far as getting her ready for bed, getting her washed up and in her jammies? Describe that.
It's usually dinner time, and then we play, and then usually around 6:30 it's get cleaned up, and then jammy time.
You making sure that she's bathed and got her appropriate clothing on to get to bed?
Yes. Yep.
Brush her teeth.
Jammies and brush the teeth and shower and bath.
Is that pretty regular and consistent when she's with you on weekends?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Other than the makeup parenting time that you had asked for and hadn't been provided with from Nicole, have you asked for any other additional parenting time?
Yeah, I've asked for time here and there, and I've even told her, like, if she's gonna go get her hair done or go to the store or anything, like, hey, I'll watch her for a few hours. And I've been told that that's silly, that it's pointless. And my thinking behind that was that it would help her know, like, hey, if mom's gone for 20 minutes or 2 hours, she's coming back for me, so it's okay. And I just thought that would help more, but I'm not allowed any extra time, and not allowed to make up time because it gets into her parenting time.
So you haven't asked for a right of first refusal from Nicole, have you?
No.
If she was doing something else, but is it your preference that you'd rather be with your daughter than have her be with somebody else?
It is. Yes.
If her mom's at work?
Yes, it is. Yep.
So you had objected to the support recommendation because it didn't take into consideration what your situation was. Is that true?
And it went off of unemployment, the extra $600. It was going off of that. So it was more than I was making before COVID. And they didn't take that in consideration. So it went up.
So you're seeking that support be recalculated, correct?
Correct.
And
And that I seen in the email that she was wanting me to pay medical, which is fine, but she has Medicaid, and she voluntarily got a supplemental insurance because she did not want to switch doctors. So everything would be covered.
do you think it's important that there be consistency with the pediatrician, and that if the pediatrician doesn't participate in Medicaid, that it's not inappropriate for that to happen? Or what's your position there?
If it was me, I would switch pediatricians so that insurance was covered.
Okay. And that's a joint legal custodial decision, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And did you discuss that with Nicole about maybe switching to a pediatrician who'd participate?
I
with
was told
Medicaid?
that. I was told absolutely not. That's stupid. That's not even an option, I was told.
So is it your position then, if she unilaterally wants to make that decision, that you're not going to be opposed to it, but you don't want to contribute to it financially?
Correct. Yep.
Did you talk with her as far as that aspect is concerned?
Yes.
Do you feel that being awarded the additional Wednesday overnight would facilitate a stronger bond between Ellie and your other children and your stepdaughter?
Yes, I believe so.
And you described the challenges that seem to be being overcome as it relates to her interaction with Kinley. But she enjoys the company of the other kids as well, right?
Yes. Yep. She acknowledges the boys, and Natalie she plays with just fine.
You think that that's important from a bonding standpoint and from a family standpoint, that she had that additional socialization with the other kids?
Yes. Yeah. I want her to feel comfortable when she comes over here. She can play with everybody, and that everybody's welcoming her and loves her.
And why do you think that that's in her best interest?
Because I want her to be comfortable, and I believe that by her coming over here night during the week, that it'll help her transition to the weekends. Because she'll know, like, oh, okay, I stayed during the week one night, and then I go see mom. So I'll stay tonight, and then I'll go see mom, and I'll play while I'm here and have a good time, and then I'll go home.
What do you do to promote the bond that Ellie has with her mom?
I don't have to promote anything because she's always asking for her mom, because she's always with her.
Sometimes you limit that contact, sometimes you don't, correct?
Yes.
Do you feel it's important from transition standpoint back and forth, for Nicole to have reasonable phone contact with Ellie when she's in your care?
Yes.
And do you allow that to happen?
Yes. If she's having a hard time, I'll try to call Nicole and put it on speakerphone so that she can talk to her. And sometimes it helps. Sometimes it doesn't really help. She just wants to see her mom. But I always try to call and I'll say, hey, can you try talking to her and see? And I do let her talk to her if she wants to talk to her.
What about your ability to communicate with Ellie when she's with her mom?
I usually don't. I mean, I have once or twice we've done FaceTime. If I wasn't able to get her because of COVID or whatever, but other than that, I don't usually talk to Ellie.
Okay. Does Nicole prohibit that or not?
It's never really been talked about. We just don't do it.
Do you think that communication might be beneficial to your daughter when it's between your parenting time?
That it may help. I'm not 100%. It may help because I know when we do FaceTime, I know she's excited for about a minute and then she loses interest.
She's got a really brief attention span given her age, correct?
Yes, she does. Yeah. She's only 3, so I mean, she's not gonna want to carry on a conversation for 5 minutes or anything.
Okay. Anything else that you haven't provided to the judge for his consideration about what promotes your daughter's best interest that we haven't covered? Is there anything that you think we need to address?
I don't think so.
Okay. I have no further questions of the witness.
So Ms. McCluskey, before you question him, I wanted to let you know that for a good part of the hearing this morning, I had someone logged in from Highfields in the waiting room, but they have disappeared. So just wanted to alert you to that.
Yeah, I texted her. I'm just going to text her to let her know when we're ready and she'll come back in. So, thank you.
Okay. Right. Go ahead. You may cross-examine.
Thank you, Ryan. So Mr. Fred, so Ellie does not have her own dedicated space at your house, is that correct? Like her own room?
She's got her own bed,
Did I understand?
but she does not have her own room.
Okay. Okay. And then she shares, you said, I believe, with just Kinley, is that correct? Or Kinley and Natalie? When Natalie's there?
Kinley and Natalie, yes.
Would it be a fair statement to say that it's probably a little difficult for Ellie to go from kind of having her own space to a home where she's sharing space with other young children?
It doesn't seem to be. She's really excited about her bunk beds, and as soon as she walks in the door, I sleep in my bed.
Okay. And obviously it sounds like that the behaviors are getting better from your testimony. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you testified that you believe adding a Wednesday overnight would help you bond Ellie. Is that correct?
Yeah, it would help Ellie bond with me as well.
So, and if I understood the testimony from yourself and Nicole, it sounds like Ellie sleeps until 8, 9, sometimes 10 in the morning. Is that correct?
Yeah, and she has got up at 7 here at my house before, but most of the time,
testified. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Most of the time she sleeps 8:30 or so.
Okay, and then you testified that she's in bed around 7, but may not go to sleep until a little later. Is that correct?
Yeah, sometimes she'll sleep at 7. Sometimes she'll stay up and watch TV till 8 or so, 8, 9.
But when she goes to bed, you're not in her room with her. She's kind of winding down, watching TV or such. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then you're asking the court to award a Wednesday overnight from, is it 5 p.m. until 8 a.m. on Thursday?
I never really discussed the next daytime.
Oh, okay. So you currently are awarded 6 hours of parenting time per week. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then if Ellie were to be dropped off at 5 p.m. on a Wednesday and go to bed at 7, that would effectively reduce your parenting time to 2 hours a week. Is that a fair statement?
Well,
If she were to be returned to Nicole in the morning.
if she was to return to Nicole in the morning, then yeah. But I would like from 5. If I get her at 5 on Wednesday, then I'll return her at 5 on Thursday.
Okay, so that's what you're requesting. Okay.
And then that would be more time with her.
So this is not about reducing your support liability.
No. I just want more time with her.
When you were discussing your desire to have Ellie with you during the weekdays, I believe you testified that it sounded like you were saying that Ellie's too bonded to her mother and she needs time away from her mother. Is that kind of a fair
Yes.
assessment? Okay.
Yes.
So you think fixing like that, you believe essentially breaking down the bond between Ellie and her mother is the solution to Ellie's behaviors?
It's not breaking the bond down. It's just she needs more time with me. She needs more frequent time to get used to being away from her mother. And I'm not saying break the bond because she'll never break that bond. I'm not trying to do that. She just needs to know that she can go other places. And Nicole's even told me that she doesn't go anywhere without her. So of course she doesn't want to leave her mom's side. And I believe that the Wednesday will help that. Like, okay, I'm going to go stay and then I'm going to go back to mom.
And you're requesting that your alternate weekends stay the same though, is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
But regardless of what your belief says to the cause, Ellie has been struggling greatly with overnights at your home for the past months. Is that not correct?
Not continuously. And the first night, she's always good.
Okay. But aside from the recent weekends that sound like they're starting to go a little more smoothly, for months, she has been struggling with at least that second overnight. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And regularly, whether it's Nicole's request or your request, she does have to pick Ellie up in the middle of your weekend. Is that correct?
Yeah, on the second night, correct. Yeah.
Okay. But you're suggesting at this time, adding an overnight is the way to fix that.
Yes, it's more time. It's too far in between. It's 2 weeks before she gets an overnight with me. So I think it's too far in between for her.
You mentioned wanting Ellie to have, you didn't believe she was socialized or becoming socialized at an appropriate rate. To your knowledge, is Ellie enrolled in any sort of preschool or daycare or anything for this fall?
No daycare. That is prohibited from Nicole, but in the fall, she has talked about going to preschool 3 days a week.
And you're in support of that?
Yes.
Okay.
She's great, socially active with other kids.
Okay. So that should alleviate your concerns about her amount of socialization. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. And that would just be, if I'm guessing correctly, less than 2 months away, 3 months away?
Yes. September, I believe.
Okay. When, actually, sorry, I'm gonna go out of order. So when you mentioned your desire to have Ellie with you Monday through Friday for the work, essentially 30 to 40 hours during the work week instead of the nanny, how exactly do you see that happening as far as transportation in the morning and the evening?
Well, it would be just like if I need to take my kids to daycare, I have to get them there to daycare. So I would be the daycare. She would have to drop her off and pick her up, just like most normal parents drop their kids off at daycare.
Okay. And obviously we all know, we've heard testimony, we are aware that the nanny works in the home with Ellie and
Right.
Nicole.
That's the issue.
Okay. So Ellie doesn't have to be woken up in the morning to be transported somewhere. The nanny comes and Ellie wakes up naturally.
In theory, that's why she has a nanny, but it's for convenience of Nicole, not anything to do with Ellie.
How long has the nanny been caring for Ellie?
Since she was a few months old, but I never know if the nanny's there. I'm under the understanding she hasn't been there the last 5 months, and when she was there 2 to 3 days a week, on and off.
Okay.
Might be a few hours, might be 6 hours. And so when I heard Nicole say 30 hours, that's like, what are you talking about?
Okay. So, and back to what you anticipate this looking like. So you would ask Nicole every morning to bring Ellie to you, and then after work every day to pick Ellie up.
Yep, that's how daycare works. Yes.
Okay. And how do you see the midday doctor appointments working? Does Nicole pick Ellie up for those as well and bring her back to you?
However, that can be arranged. However, keep her till
Are
a
you able
doctor
to take her?
appointment, or what's that?
Are you able to take her to those appointments in the middle of the day?
I have not been able to go to doctor's appointments because of COVID, and Nicole won't let me take her. I've been told from day one that she's her mother and she will always take her, that I can't go without her.
So before COVID, you were restricted from attending those appointments? Is that your testimony?
I would go to what I knew about and what I could make it before COVID.
Okay.
But again, I was not always informed or didn't know about it.
Okay. So, so just if I'm understanding correctly, in your, what you would like to see happen, Nicole would have to bring Ellie to you, pick her up every day, and she would also have to come and retrieve her and return her after doctor appointments. Is that correct? You would, and sure, scratch that. That was probably confusing. What transportation would you anticipate that you would take care of in your scenario?
Well, daycare doesn't usually provide transportation, so
But
she would
are
bring
you
her.
daycare? Or are you
I'm a daddy care. Yeah, I'm daycare.
You're getting paid for that service?
She can pay me if she wants.
Okay. So,
But I just wanted more time with my daughter, so that's all I was concerned about.
understood. So before COVID, how, you said it was your testimony that you did participate in all medical appointments that you were aware of?
I would make it to what I could, what I knew about, because a lot of times I wouldn't know till the day before.
Okay. Is it also your testimony that you were never provided a list of Ellie's medical providers?
Yeah.
Not
I've
during the
never
divorce
had,
proceeding?
I've never had a list of all the providers.
Okay. That Google Calendar that Nicole populates for you, does that list contact information for the providers?
That does list where the doctors is, but I mean, if I wanted to call one of her doctors, I don't know who to call or where. I mean, unless if I had a question about some of her medical, and my only option is to call Nicole.
So you did just state that the calendar lists the provider's name and the address. Do I understand you correctly?
For that, yes, for that appointment that she lists, but it's not a list of all the doctors.
Okay. But are you saying that you have no way of getting a telephone number for those providers and calling that provider?
No, I not unless Nicole gives me a list.
Google can't give you that information?
I don't know. Google,
I'm
what
just talking
appointments
about
does Ellie have? I mean,
Right.
how do I Google what appointments, what doctor she has?
I'm sorry, I was probably confusing. I mean, when you look at a Google Calendar and you see one of her medical appointments listed, could you find the number and call that provider?
For that, but what about the rest of them?
Right, okay, understood. If she were to give you a list of providers, if she truly has not, would you be able to phone those providers and speak to them about Ellie?
Yes, I could.
Okay. So is there some reason, some compelling reason that you think Nicole should be responsible for all of that communication to you?
She knows what doctor she has and I don't. And as Ellie's father, I need to know, why is it held from me?
I'm working on the assumption, if she gives you a list today, are you able to take care of that communication on your own behalf, given that you share joint legal custody?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So your sessions with Ms. Schwartz,
Who is that?
I'm sorry, Amy Schwartz with Highfields,
Yeah.
with Ellie's therapist. Did you participate in those regularly?
I did about 3, and then it was not beneficial to Ellie.
And how was it? How do you determine that it wasn't beneficial to Ellie?
Because she was in the other room playing while I was sitting on the phone, staring at the phone for an hour with Amy. So she wasn't even
So you were
involved. She wasn't
able
even
to do Zoom.
involved with it.
Okay. And it's probably difficult with a child that age.
Yeah.
If Ms. Schwartz is going back to in-person sessions, are you willing to continue that service?
We were going to try that, and then Nicole got mad at me and switched it back to 5 to 8. And Amy told me that she agreed that there's no way that time would work, because it would take pretty much my whole. If I get her at 5, she gets home at 5:30. She eats, so there's 6 o'clock. So from 6 to 7, and then 7's my other kid's bedtime. She said, that's not feasible to be on the phone for an hour or in person for an hour.
Okay. If Nicole were able to, or if she's willing to make Ellie available at some other time outside of parenting time, specifically for those sessions, would you be willing to continue that service?
I would give it a try, but she won't give me any extra time.
Okay. So really, if I'm understanding correctly, the reason you think it wasn't beneficial is simply because Ellie got distracted because it was over Zoom. Is that a fair statement?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
In person, I believe that she could have interacted and maybe seen more and been more beneficial.
Okay. So so the services have discontinued at this point. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct.
Okay. And who discontinued those?
They did, because we couldn't. Highfields did, because we couldn't meet. So they said at this time that they would just discontinue it.
Okay. Because you couldn't agree on an appointment time?
Yes.
But to no other reason that you're aware of?
No, that's it.
Was there any cost to you for that service?
No.
Okay. And just from your observations of those sessions and Ellie's apparent improvement in behavior, do you think any of that improvement could have been from those sessions?
No. I believe it's from us working with her. I don't think that she got anything out of those sessions, at least when she was with me. It might have benefited her when she was with Nicole, but when she was with me, I don't believe it did.
Okay. During COVID, you were at that time a first responder, is that correct? Or not a first responder, I'm sorry. What were you doing for a living at the time?
I was driving truck and delivering drywall.
Oh, okay. And were you an essential worker?
No.
Okay. Isn't it true that you and Nicole together decided that it would be best for Ellie not to have parenting time for a period of time at the beginning of the pandemic?
Yes, it is. But we also agreed that that time would be made up somehow later down the road, and that never happened.
Okay. But she didn't unilaterally withhold Ellie from you at the beginning of the pandemic?
No, we agreed to that. Okay. With that.
So would you agree that you and Nicole have been somewhat high conflict since your divorce?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think doing exchanges 2 times every single day, if not more, on top of the alternate weekends might add to the conflict?
No.
So those exchanges are never an issue?
They have been in the past, but not, recently. We don't even say here she is. And if she had an issue, I tell her and that's it. On we go.
Is that because you actually don't do the drop-offs and pickups? It's usually your parents or your wife?
They usually pick her up, but I take her out to Nicole when she shows up.
Sorry, I'm just reviewing my notes here. So you testified that Nicole did not want to change Ellie's pediatrician to find somebody that accepted Medicare. Is that correct?
Correct.
And how long has Ellie been with that pediatrician?
Since she was born.
Okay. And we heard some testimony as to kind of the extent of Ellie's medical needs is pretty, there's a lot of medical needs since her birth. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And so her pediatrician likely was the one, for lack of a better term, quarterbacking all of this care. Is that a fair statement, or would it have been a different provider?
I'd object, Your Honor. That calls for speculation.
Fair enough. I'll scratch that. Understand. Scratch that. So it's your desire that Ellie be removed from the pediatrician that's cared for her since birth just to find someone who accepts Medicaid. Is that my understanding?
It's not my desire. My only argument with Nicole was why, it can be totally paid for, but you choose not to by going to a different doctor. So with that being said, when it can be paid for, why should I have to pay for it when it can be paid for?
But
if that was my other kids and they said, okay, you can have paid for, but you have to go to a different doctor. Okay, who's the doctor? I'm going.
Okay. Do your
And
other
I have
kids have
I have 4 other kids too. So, and my twins were born really early too. So I would switch.
So they have medical needs that are rival Ellie's. Is that what you're testifying?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. But instead of choosing a provider based on their expertise and their ability to care for your children's conditions, you would choose one based only on their willingness to accept Medicare. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's not correct because they go to U of M. So, and Ellie goes to U of M. So that's where the care is given.
Okay. But Nicole did secure health insurance, alternate health insurance at her own cost through her employer on the market. Is that true?
Due to her choice, yes. So that she didn't have to switch doctors.
Okay. So there's no current, okay, but no current cost to you.
No. But she wants me to
true?
pay for insurance when it is paid free by Medicaid or care or whatever it is.
Have you asked Nicole for a list of providers, medical providers?
When we first were divorced, I did.
And you were provided one, were you not?
To my knowledge, no,
Okay.
I was not.
So have you asked again recently?
No.
So it's your desire that Nicole should have just anticipated that need and printed out a list of providers and contact information and presented it to you. Is that what you're saying?
I told her as soon as she started the Google Calendar that it wasn't working and I needed a printout. And she said, I'm not your wife. I'm not doing that. I said, okay, well, I can't go to appointments or schedule them a week out to get, back when I was working, I needed 2 weeks notice to get time off. And
Okay.
You can't tell me the day before and expect me to go, or, I don't know where it is or who it is or.
Understood. So you did testify a few times about Ellie's bond to her mother, and you don't deny that. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you mentioned that you believe Ellie had some separation anxiety. Is that correct?
Correct.
But you don't have any education or training or any sort of specialty that would allow you to diagnose separation anxiety. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. You just see that Ellie gets distressed when she's separated from her mother.
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, she's never been diagnosed with anything that sounds like separation anxiety?
Yes. At the beginning of all the therapy and stuff, I don't know if they wrote it down or what, but Nicole told me that they thought it was separation anxiety.
Okay.
And then they went on to get her into to Amy into height fields and stuff.
I have no further questions at this time. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fred.
So, Mr. Fred, I want to ask you about your employment situation. I'm still a little bit unclear. So who was your employer when you were last employed?
L&W Supply.
Is that a building supply business?
Yes, it is.
And they laid you off as a result of COVID?
Yes, they did. And I have not got a call back.
So you're since then you've been collecting unemployment?
Correct.
And are you getting the enhanced unemployment benefit through the federal government offers?
Yes, I am.
So how much are you getting a week?
Well, 870 for 2 weeks. It's 870 something, I believe.
Does any child support get withheld from that?
Yes, it does.
Do you know what the gross amount is?
No, I did not.
So the 870 every 2 weeks that you get is after child support has been withheld?
Correct.
Okay. My understanding is that this is going to be coming to an end. I think it's September.
Correct.
Is it your intention to return to work when the enhanced benefit is no longer available?
I at this time I plan on staying home with the kids because it's $520 a week for 4 kids for daycare. So I'd have to find a job that pays $600 a week to make it worth it, and that's not possible.
Have you explored what it would cost to hire a nanny?
Yeah.
And that is $520 a week?
Daycare is $520. Daycare is $120 a day.
Per child.
A nanny for all of my kids, a nanny is about $4,000 a month.
This Google Calendar, do you ever just log into it yourself and look down the road to see what appointments are scheduled?
I do, and I have. They have changed before, or if she forgets to put an appointment in there or something, then I'm not aware of it.
But you do understand that you can log into it and look ahead for the whole month, and assuming she hasn't changed it, it's going to tell you when that appointment is and who the appointment is with, correct?
Yes, you're correct. But it has changed before several times. Like forgot to put one in or.
And so I was a little unclear. You said sometimes Ellie goes to sleep as soon as she goes to bed. which is at 7 o'clock, and sometimes she watches TV.
Correct.
Do the girls have a TV in their room?
Yes, they do.
Those were the only questions I had. Redirect, Mr. Navarre?
Thank you. Scott, in the motion that we had filed, you had indicated that previously in testimony that you and Nicole decided when COVID onset hit that that you would get makeup parenting time for your
Correct.
parenting time that you missed. Correct?
That was correct. Yes.
And in your motion, you asked for 20 overnights of makeup time. And isn't that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And was that a calculation based on the also the midweek hours that you were missing as opposed and in addition to the alternate weekend
No,
hours that you're missing?
that was only the weekends.
Okay. So that was only for the overnights?
Correct. I didn't take into account during the week.
Okay. So if the court's going to deny your request for additional parenting time for midweek for Wednesday, would you at least want the court to order you have those Wednesdays for the 20 overnights that you've requested for makeup parenting time?
Yes. Yes, I would.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any further witnesses, Mr. Navarre?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Does anyone need to take a break right now?
I would like to take a brief break, Your Honor.
All right, let's do that. Let's say 10 minutes. I'm going to keep the meeting open, but I'm going to stop the live stream.
Thank you, Judge.
By the way, Ms. McCluskey, Amy is in the way.